What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero and welcome back to the NCPL. This video is going to be a draft analysis for the upcoming Season 4. Yes, I have drafted all 14 of the Pokemon I am going to have to use over the next 14, hopefully, I think 16 or 17 weeks. And yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into why I pick the particular mons I do pick. I like bulky offense. I like having a, balance in the favor of bulk. But some mons that can really tank hits, get up hazards, build up some passive damage over time. A good amount of mons that can tank hits decently well while also dealing out quite a bit of damage. And then a few mons that are a bit frailer but can still deal primarily deal a lot of damage. And I like varied speed tiers and coverage and having different options, modes for my team. So yeah, it's a really complicated process, but it's a lot of fun. And yeah, let's hop into it. So this is not the team I have. This is not the team. We're going to hop into my very first pick, which is probably not going to be that much of a surprise to anyone who has been watching my leagues up until this point. That is going to be Mega Scizor. Yeah, Kozuki Cotton, my Mega Scizor, is going to be back yet again. I used it for the first time in the co-op league. I used it again in the SFL. I traded in Mega Metagross to get Mega Scizor. I used it last season in the NCPL. I love using this Pokemon. Look at its great stats. It's got super powerful Bullet Punch priority. It's got great recovery in Roost. It's got great momentum. It can get momentum with U-turn. It can Pursuit Trap. It has knockoff. It can run agility. It has great access to boosting moves like Swords Dance. It can run physically defensive sets. Look at that base 140 defense. It's got solid decent HP of 70 and decent SPDEF of 100. You can really tank hits while affording to set up or recover depending on what things is. This mon can play so many different roles. It gets defog as well. I forgot to mention. Yeah, it's a really good Pokemon. It can run a lot of different roles. It can support teams in a lot of ways. It can control teams. It can dominate other teams in a lot of different ways. It can a lot of times be a win condition where you just plan on getting one SD, putting things in bullet punch range, or building chip damage, right? It can be a solid supporter, keeping hazards off the field while getting chip damage with U-turn over time. It's a great mon, and I absolutely loved using it. It is very much the epitome of my ideal of bulky offense. So that being said, let's move on to our next Pokemon, which is going to be Toxapex. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably not that excited to see something like Toxapex on my team, but it is an incredible wall. I think it was actually Suicune was taken just before this, so sadly I won't be having Suicune this season. I'm really missing out on it, but Toxapex, I'm really excited to use it. It's really great at getting up hazards, toxic spikes. It's got great reliable recovery with ability Regenerator and reliable recovery in the move Recover. It can pick up Scald Burns, get chip damage. It really just tanks things. It prevents setup sweepers with Haze. It can run great special or physical bulk, allowing a lot of flexibility in that sense. So yeah, it doesn't require a lot of support and offers a lot to the team. And it also has pretty solid synergy with Scizor, given that Scizor resists Psychic and is neutral to ground, whereas Toxapex resists Fire, which is Scizor's only weakness, resists Fighting, which is one of Scizor's few neutral moves, and so forth. So yeah, some good synergy in my opinion. And I wanted to pick up some solid bulk early on. Next up, I was thinking, alright, we can't just completely forget about offense though. I do want to have a more dedicated offensive mon on my team. So I ended up picking up Garchomp, a mon that I used extensively in NCPL Season 3. I loved having its base 102 speed tier. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there are a lot of Pokemon in a very crowded base 100 speed tier. So having a mon that's just above that allows you to really take advantage of all the other stats while having just enough speed to outspeed the ones you actually care about outspeeding. So Garchomp, monstrous base 130 attack, decent special attack, access to a bunch of different types of moves, Aqua Tail, Poison Jab, Stone Edge, Rock Slide, Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Outrage. I think it's got Iron Tail as well. It might even have, it has Fire Fang too. It can run Sandstorm, it can run Stealth Rock as well, Endure, Dragon Tail. It also has a lot of various roles. You can run, Rough Skin, Rocky Helmets, and I loved personally using it as a Choice Scarf user because it can really clean up late game, and yeah, it's part of the offensive presence of the team. So I'm really looking forward to using it. Next up, I wanted a really bulky grass type, and they were starting to go. My friend Tack picked up Tangrowth, which I used last season, really enjoyed using it. But another mon I picked up from actually Manu's team from NCPL Season 3 is going to be Shaman. Shaman, what to say, right? It's one of the Pixie Pokemon. It's got base 100 stats all around. It's incredibly flexible. It's incredibly versatile. You never know exactly what to expect. It's got pretty solid move pool coverage. It's got a great stab, Seed Flare. It's got Earth Power. I think it's got Dazzling Gleam as well. It can run bulky sets with Leech Seed, Synthesis. It's got Natural Cure, meaning it doesn't have to worry about status as much. It's a great status absorber. It tanks the ground and electric type hits that will hurt Toxapex a lot. I should mention Garchomp is also an electric immunity. It's also another quadruple fire resist for Scizor. And yeah, it's really versatile. It's really bulky as well. And it can offer a lot of really good support for the team, even something like Healing Wish, but while also potentially being able to run a very effective, I might even say super effective offensive set. So, yep, Shaman will be coming to the team. Oh, I should mention, I haven't come up with names for everything yet. I haven't come up with a name for Toxapex or Garchomp yet. I did used to call my Garchomp Snacker, but I'm thinking about changing that. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but Shaman will be named after Lizzie. For those of you that know, Lizzie is my girlfriend. For those of you that don't know, Lizzie is my girlfriend. But yeah, moving on to the next Pokemon. Another Mon that is really bulky, can really tank hits, but also hits really hard and has access to reliable recovery, Reuniclus. I've been wanting to use this Pokemon ever since I saw Joey PokeMMD use it in the UCL, and yeah, look at that special attack, base 125, and it's also got great, like an incredible base HP stat with decent defense and Spadef. It's got access to moves like Acid Armor and Calm Mind to boost those defenses as well, in addition to a great ability like Regenerator or Magic Guard, whichever one fits the situation better. It hits really hard with Psychic. It's a great Trick Room abuser. It's a great Magic Guard Life Orb abuser. It's, again, bulky offense. It can tank hits. It can also dish out a lot of damage. It can run a really offensive set. It can run a really bulky defensive set. It's also got reliable recovery in Recover and Regenerator. Are you guys noticing a theme? Yeah, but anyways, next up we're going to have Raikou, my personal favorite Pokemon. I absolutely love Raikou and have been wanting to use in the League format for a long time. Last season I ended up picking up Thundurus T. I really enjoyed using it. One thing I didn't like was that I just had, my only two fast Pokemon per se were just above base 100. So I wanted to have faster Pokemon than the base 110 speed tier. And so Raikou helps solve that. I chose Raikou over Thundurus I, strictly because of the kind of mixed bulk that Raikou brings to the table. You can see a base 100 Spadef, base 90 HP, and base 75 defense. It's able to take hits decently well. It has Calm Mind so that it can boost up both its defenses and its offenses. It is a valuable fast Volt Switcher, which is something I really wanted to have in tandem with a slow U-turner like Scizor. And yeah, it's got decent move coverage. Raikou is actually going to be my Omni Z mover, Omni Z mover. It can't use, Omni boosting moves, but it can use non-attacking Z moves as well. I'm not going to reveal too much about it, to be honest. It's actually relatively straightforward, but it has some cool potential for some really neat tricks, some really cool gimmicky sets. Hopefully catch some of my opponents off guard going forward. And with that, let's move on to the next Pokemon. We've got Gliscor. I was looking and I was like, man, I really need some, ground immunities. I want electric immunity. I want something that can Stealth Rock. I want something that can defog. I wanted some more bulk in both sides, and maybe a little bit leaning more towards the defense, right? Because I have had more special bulk, although I've had, flexible walls up until this point. And yeah, Gliscor really fit the bill. It is also, bulky offense, right? It can run really bulky toxic stall sets. It can set up Stealth Rock. It can be a reliable defogger. It has reliable recovery and roost. It can also run SD facade sets. It can run SD earthquake. It's got, a non-negligible attack stat, and it's decently fast too. It can get momentum with U-turn. It's a really cool Pokemon, and it can be used in a lot of different ways. It can support the team in a lot of different ways. It can be supported to potentially sweep, to whether that's sitting behind a substitute while toxicking away, or sitting at +2 and hitting super hard with facades. It's a really cool Pokemon I've wanted to use, and it really supports the team in a neat way. It's also a neat fire resist, which is helpful for Scizor and for Shaman. It doesn't put that pressure on just Toxapex and Garchomp. Speaking of fire types, next up we've got Typhlosion. I am going to be naming Typhlosion Bakugo Katsuki. If you guys have been watching Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia, it's turning out to be one of my favorite anime of all time, and I really enjoy the characters a lot, so I figured I would name a lot of the characters off or after those from the anime. Obviously, my team is Chicago Muse, inspired by Love Live, and it will forever be Chicago Muse inspired by Love Live. But sometimes, the Pokemon just don't line up, right? If I had Zapdos again, I would name it Kotori Minami in a heartbeat, right? But something like Typhlosion doesn't really lend itself very well to Love Live characters. So Bakugo Katsuki it is. Bakugo Katsuki, aka Typhlosion, is going to be hitting super hard. It doesn't look like it that much right now, but Stab Eruptions, Choice Spec Stab Eruption, just annihilates teams. I've had to prep for this Pokemon so many times, and it's such a pain because it just hits so hard every single time it comes in. Base 109 special attack is not that bad. It has the ability Flash Fire as well, which means you can boost your attacks even more. Specs Fire Blast, it's got extra sensory for coverage, hidden power for coverage. I don't know if it gets Solar Beam, I don't think it does. I think it gets Focus Blast as well. I'm going to try not to use Focus Blast as much as I can this entire season. But yeah, it also hits base 100 speed tier, so it's, again, stratifying my speed tiers forces opponents to try to outspeed certain threats so that they can't just afford to avoid or invest EVs in stuff like HP or more attack, or afford to run Adamant Natures, because they have to prep for a lot of different speed tier mons. And so they really do need to value their speed. So that's part of why you're seeing 95 base speed, 100 base speed, 102 base speed, 115 base speed, 75 base speed. A lot of these different speed tiers. Next up is a Pokemon I was shocked even lasted this long in the draft. It's actually Tapu Bulu. Bulu lasted this long in the draft. I guess it just wasn't anyone's draft plans. No one was planning on getting it, so no one picked it up. No one needed it for their team. No one was planning on having it for their team. So it was left there, and I figured I could definitely use something like this. It's going to help my ground weak Pokemon like Toxapex and Raikou and Typhlosion a lot. It's going to help all of my bulkier Pokemon heal, right? They're going to be taking less damage from Earthquakes, and they're going to be having basically a free leftovers, maybe on top of their already held leftovers, healing them up at the end of each turn. So it offers a lot of team support in that sense. It can run really bulky sets, whether that's AV or leftovers with stuff like Leech Seed. Horn Leech is doing a lot of damage boosted by that, Stab and the Grassy Terrain off of base 130 attack. So Bulu is able to heal himself up really effectively, and Bulu can run a really effective Scarf set. Banded Woodhammer does so much damage, and it also has great move coverage in stuff like Stone Edge, Superpower, Horn Leech, and Woodhammer, and that's really all it needs, to be honest. It can run bulkier sets with, and I've seen like Screens before, Nature's Madness, and this Mon is going to be my secondary Z move user, which is going to be offensive moves only, stuff like Continental Crush, super powerful nukes of a Bloom Doom, all-out pummeling, that sort of thing. I think Guardian of Alola is also available based off of Nature's Madness. So yeah, really excited to use Tapu Bulu. Was really shocked I had the chance to get it. Also, think about like Life Orb or Specs or Scarf, Shaman Seed Flares boosted by Grassy Terrain. That is something I cannot wait to have. So yeah, next up is going to be another returning Pokemon from NCPL Season 3. That is going to be Bronzong, one of my favorite Pokemon to use in that season. It's so bulky, it's mixed bulky, it can run a couple different routes, whether you need to be physically bulky, whether you need it to be Spadef, whether you need it to be immune to ground or reduce, damage from fire type attacks. You keep the opponent guessing, and it can fulfill so many roles. It can, outlast things and, wear away at things with toxic damage. It's a really reliable Stealth Rock setter, which takes pressure off of Gliscor. It is really slow. It hits hard with Gyro Ball. It can set up Calm Minds. It can be a Trick Room lead with Trick Room and Boom. It gives my team more options. When I have slower Pokemon like Scizor, when I have Pokemon that can be slow like Typhlosion, and Pokemon like Tapu Bulu, which can really thrive under Trick Room, something like Bronzong at least gives me that mode. It forces opponents to prep for it. So it's something I'm really looking forward to using. And with this Trick Room setter, I wanted to get another Pokemon that could really abuse it, and I really wanted a Dark type, a really strong knockoff. So I ended up picking Pangoro. Pangoro is a monster. It's got a massive attack stat, it's got a really strong stab knockoff, it's got access to Swords Dance, so in the Trick Room, it's slow, it hits hard, it's got decent bulk, it can usually tank a hit, It can hit super hard with Hammer Arm, Drain Punch, and Iron Fist boosting a lot of its attacks. It's an offensive powerhouse. That's really kind of all it comes down to. And it's a great Trick Room abuser, something definitely to be reckoned. Next up is going to be Porygon 2. I wanted more bulk. I wanted another Trick Room setter. I wanted more reliable recovery. I wanted a normal type. I wanted a ghost resist, or immunity rather. And I wanted something that can sponge a whole bunch of different types of hits. Its stats might not look stellar at first, but when you slap an Eviolite on it, it is really bulky, especially with access to reliable recovery moves in Recover. It's got really neat abilities, Trace and Download, which allow me to take advantage of opponents' abilities potentially, or their own stats to boost my special attack with great Bolt Beam coverage and a move like Tri Attack. It's really cool. It can also set up Trick Room and take advantage of it itself. It can run a relatively offensive Porygon 2, which you don't see too often, but it can happen. And yeah, I'm looking forward to using it. I've had a lot of difficulty like tearing it down in the past, so glad to have it on my side. And we only got 2 more Pokemon left. The next one is going to be Greninja, and before you say, what, Greninja's allowed, and like, it was this late, it's only Torrent Greninja, so no Protean, no Battle Bond, so it's drastically weaker than you're probably seeing on the ladder in competitive Pokemon now, but it's still got decent, base 95 attack, base 103 special attack, and again, speed tiers. It hits that base 122 speed tier, right up there with the fastest of threats, great move coverage in Ice Beam, Dark Pulse, Hydro Pump, Surf, potentially Gunk Shot, Low Kick. Oh, and there goes the music. Hope you guys are fans of P5. Let's go with this. I'm a fan of this song as well. Trying out like a new like dual monitor-esque setup. It's pretty cool. It's gonna take some getting used to, but I'm enjoying it. Anyways, back to Greninja. It's got priority in Water Shuriken. It can set up spikes. It's got extra sensory. It's got great coverage. It's a great cleanup mon. So I'm really looking forward to having it as a fast, powerful offensive threat. Also momentum with U-turn, of course. And then lastly, we have Mimikyu. I wanted a fairy type. I was looking at potentially Sylveon. That was like my top one, and then potentially Florges. Max sniped me on that. But I was not too compelled to get a fairy type. I know that last season, one of the biggest complaints with my team, or people said, oh, like, Nick needs a fire type, and like, Nick is missing this core. And really, I think you don't need to build around certain cores. You don't need a fire, water, grass core. You don't need a dragon, fairy, steel core in order to succeed. It's really how do the Pokemon complement each other, and you can work around it. So I wasn't like super compelled to get a fairy, which is a great typing, but I do think in the end it's nice to have ghost spam. There aren't a lot of ghost resist around, so having Mimikyu to spam Shadow Claws at +2 or Shadow Sneak for priority, also as a potential Trick Room abuser, really, is very promising. Offensive fairy types. I'm not a big fan of Play Rough because it has a chance to miss, but it does hit really hard. Slap a Life Orb on it, and Mimikyu can do surprising damage off that base 90 attack, and yeah, that's kind of all there is really to offer with it. I know you can run bulkier sets with like Destiny Bond and I think like Spite or Curse or something like that. I haven't really looked into that too much. I might mess around with that at some point, but yeah, it's a pretty neat mon. And I should go over nicknames real quick. I was going to be naming Greninja is going to be Tsuyu-chan. Porygon 2 is going to be Uraraka Ochako. Pangoro is going to be Kirishima. Bronzong is going to be Viriamu, which is the name of the opening to Elfen Lied, if any of you have seen that anime. Tapu Bulu, I'm not sure yet. And yeah, that's really all. All the other Pokemon names have been pretty much Boku no Hero Academia, except for Kozuki Kaden, the Scizor, who is going to be named after one of my favorite characters from Code Geass, and Shaman, who's going to be named after Lizzie, and then Raikou. I forgot to mention this. Raikou will be Zero, or Zero, because it's my favorite Pokemon, so I kind of want to name it after myself, and every time I have built a team for someone else that involves Raikou, I always name it after myself, Zero, so it's something fun I wanted to do. But yeah, that's the team. I am happy with it. I like how it looks so far. It is going to be really difficult because there are a lot of good teams in this league. A lot of mons to prep for every single week. So it's definitely challenging to figure out what is the best combination, or what is a combination that can even take on all of the potential combinations from your opponent's team. So it's definitely going to be tough getting used to different play styles, because I do have a lot of them available on this team, but it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to playing with a lot of these Pokemon, using them in new ways, creative ways, old ways I really enjoy. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of my team. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's missing a particular thing? Do you think it's really strong in one particular area? Which of the Pokemon that I did choose is your favorite? Have you guys used these in leagues or just in competitive before and come to really like them? I'm curious. And I'm gonna get going on team building for our week 1 opponent. So hope you guys are excited. Hope you guys are liking the team and looking forward to the rest of the season. But until then, this has been Night Zero, and this mission is complete.